What's up, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. Hi if you're new here, hi if you're not. No real plan for today's video. We're going to be reacting to some Reddit content in the online coaching space. So if that sounds good, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and let's jump right in. Okay, so I came across a Reddit feed titled Coaches Coaching Other Coaches, and I'm sure we can all guess how I feel about that. Here's what it says. Hello, everyone. I've done some research on this matter, but not too sure if it's considered an MLM or not. So I know someone who has recently become a life coach / mentor. She has no qualifications nor career / life success to really coach others on how they should live their life. She has spent tens of thousands on coaching retreats, which has taught her life tips, manifestation, money mindset, etc., and how to attract clients. She stated that she has 3 mentors at the moment that continue to coach her to this day. I checked her mentors page and they coach other coaches. She continuously posts on Facebook Live, TikTok, and Instagram about how you should be your own boss, quit your 9-to-5, change your relationship with money, and all this other nonsense. She rambles and talks out of her ass the whole time, constantly contradicting her statements she said 5 minutes ago. It's quite worrying, to be honest. Also, always saying, my clients, I make $5,000 easily in a week, but yet gets 50 views and 5 likes per post. She even offers free coaching sessions for people who comment on the post, and you best believe the post has no comments. The community that do engage with her posts are other coaches. Anyways, she's recently focused her coaching business on helping other coaches do the same thing as her. Coach! I fail to understand why she would want to further saturate the market she is in, thus making it more competitive for herself. So I was wondering if this is a pyramid scheme, and if so, how should I communicate / save her from this scheme? She has spent 3 years on this nonsense, and from the outside looking in, seems like an absolute train wreck. She even left her 9-to-5 to do this full time. I'm honestly scared for her. Cheers. Too long, didn't read. Is coaches coaching other coaches a scam or a pyramid scheme? To answer your question, absolutely yes. Now, I do want to be clear, because this has come up in my comment section a few times too. The coaches coaching coaches, while not like a traditional pyramid scheme in a sense, is very much like a pyramid structure, but the person at the top isn't necessarily benefiting off the person at the bottom. That's a story for another day. I do just want to be clear that coaches coaching coaches is not an MLM. An MLM, multi-level marketing, is a company that sells a product and then also has recruiting, and the primary way you make money is through recruiting. MLM is completely separate from the coaches coaching coaches, because there's no one company that all of these coaches work for, if that makes sense. While they do mirror each other, they have very many common similarities, which I've done in a number of videos on. You can click right here to watch. The coaching pyramid scheme is not in itself an MLM. Now let's read some of the comments. I mean, to be honest, there aren't any real qualifications needed to be a regular life coach. You got 25-year-olds who took a course and now want to be your life coach. It's not your great skills that got you the studio in Park Slope, Brandon. It's your dad's money, but then gullible people see that and will pay this dude money to figure out how to get it. I think I've talked about this in plenty of my videos, and I mean, I was this person 5 to 6 years ago where I thought that I had all of this, inherent wisdom that I needed to impart on other people. And I think honestly, it really just comes from naivety and not wanting to work the job that I had. So I definitely empathize with the people in these scenarios, but it is certainly a red flag that anyone can become a life coach and that the industry itself isn't regulated at all. Okay, another comment reads this. The first red flag for me is that she claims to be coaching, but is spouting advice and talking about how people should quit their jobs, etc. That's not a coach at all. Coaching is a real thing that MLM Huns hijacked and turned into telling people how to make money in an MLM. Real coaches may desire coaching, sure, much like a real therapist might see a therapist or a doctor might need to go to the ER, but what she's doing isn't coaching, period. Okay, I don't know if I necessarily agree with this. I know and I understand, and again, this has come up in my comments as well. Yes, if you're a licensed therapist, you should absolutely be going to therapy because you don't want to experience transference. I used to work in the mental health field, and I remember my boss always being super, super adamant about us going to therapy and not taking the experiences of our clients home with us. And so I recognize that as a therapist, you should absolutely have a therapist. A lot of the times in my comments, people will use that as a prop to then defend why coaches hire other coaches, but I think the motives here are two completely different things. First of all, if you're a therapist, you're a licensed professional, and when you're speaking to another therapist, they are also a licensed professional that is held to a board standard. If I'm a coach and I hire a coach, the coach that I hired, their motivation really is only to make money off of me in most cases. And so essentially the difference is that I have been tricked, for lack of a better term, into thinking that the only way I'm going to be successful is if I continue to invest in myself. And so that's why we see the coaches coaching coaches coaching coaches. And it is like a pyramid that never ends, because these people are led to believe that the only way to be successful is if you have someone there rooting you on the entire time, gassing up the tank, pumping up the tires, convincing you that rah, you're doing good. That is significantly different than me being able to go to therapy and learn proper tools and techniques to make sure that I'm not absorbing the feelings and thoughts of my clients, in my opinion. Now, to touch on the piece about the 9 to 5, that's something that I've become pretty vocal about, especially in the past few months, is really this idea that I don't believe everyone should quit their 9 to 5 job. Obviously, I'm an advocate for people starting their businesses, but just because you have a business doesn't mean you have to quit your job and do that business full time. I think it's great when people have like side hustles and they start a business as like a hobby in complement to whatever they do for full-time work. I don't think entrepreneurship is for everyone, and not everyone should start a business. And so the narrative that like the 9 to 5 is evil and everyone should work for themselves, I don't think is necessarily true or correct. And so for this coach to be spewing that everyone needs to quit their 9 to 5 and become a coach is very, very dangerous, but I think also comes from a place of being very like ill-informed. 9 to 5s aren't bad. I mean, having that guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks doesn't get much better than that, honestly. Okay, there are a ton of comments on this post, so I'll just read a couple more. One of my friend's daughters is a life coach. It mostly includes pretending that she can read tarot cards and posting semi-nude photos. I think she is probably hustling on the side as well. Mom and dad support her by putting her up between retreats and journeys of the soul. And then someone replied to that comment, paying someone to life coach me on OnlyFans sounds 1,000 times better than some Beachbody scam any day. Again, coaching and MLM are not the same thing, but I get what they're saying. And then I'll just read this last comment. It says, you should share this on the Reddit/fake guru page. It overlaps a lot with the anti-MLM community. Pyramids, recruiting, same language, but has even less of a product. And then someone replied, wait, I don't get it. I hate gurus and religious cults as much as the other girl, but what is a fake guru as opposed to a real religious con man? Are they teaching about fake chakras and fake third eye, not the real ones? And then someone replied, guru here is being used as a term for people promoting their get-rich-quick schemes, not Eastern methodology. So yeah, it's the same. When I say fake guru on my channel, I'm talking about these people who pretend to be the master of their craft when they really don't have any experience at all. Okay, I said that was going to be the last comment, but then I kept scrolling and I found this one, and I think it's a really good point, so let's go ahead and read it. I haven't read the other comments, but I can tell you as a former aspiring coach, this is the thing. Though not exactly an MLM, it's really an obscene amount of business coaches selling what worked for them without acknowledging things like privilege or connections or access to funds. Instead, they try to convey that their success is solely mindset or manifestation or believing in themselves of working really, really hard. In those ways, it is like what the Huns do, Huns being people in MLMs. I also suspect that many folks are doing business coaching because they can charge, or they've been told they can charge, a lot of money. There are programs that convince you should charge a lot of money, that you can make 6 or 7 figures in a short amount of time, and if you're not, here's another expensive program that can help. I know because I fell for it. There's not a lot of dialogue out there about the abuses in the coaching industry, but the parallels with MLM are there. So I've been hanging out here to help heal and engage my critical thinking. There's so much more I could say, but I'll stop there. Someone replied, please say more. I just got suckered into this myself. Oh no. I'm sorry you got suckered into it. You're not alone though, and it sucks so many people are in the same spot. I'm amazed that I posted this response a year ago. Since then, there has been more people speaking up about it. There's even a subreddit that focuses on one coach in particular. I just learned of a podcast today called Sell the Transformation. There are 6 episodes. I've listened to 2 so far. We will have to look into that. The more time I'm away from the coaching world, the more time I spend watching anti-MLM content, the more I see the connections. For one, being successful in the coaching world requires starting about 10 years ago. Very much like how being successful in an MLM requires getting in early before the market gets saturated. In both cases, the people who are successful will obscure that detail and go on about mindset and hard work and perseverance. Some of these folks probably do work hard, but that's not what got them there. The MLM training calls are very similar to coach training. They rarely, if ever, include concrete practical steps. This is what I say time and time again. No talk about P&L, profit and loss, taxes, SWOT analysis, just blanket statements of you have to believe and somehow money will show up in your bank account. I'm sure many of you, if you've watched all of my content, you've heard me tell this story before. But when I worked with my first business coach, we had been working together for probably somewhere between 4 to 6 months before she finally told me, Danielle, you should go and register your business so that it feels more legitimate. Okay, I was living in the province of Ontario at the time. Obviously, the rules are different in the US, but in Ontario, if you're operating a business that's not your legal name, you're required to register that business name as soon as you start the business. So obviously, when I started my business 6 months prior to that, I had called my accountant and said, what do I need to do to start a business? And she told me, Danielle, you need to register your business name. So thanks for your super unhelpful advice a little bit too late. Like, that just goes to show how out of touch with actually providing valid business advice they really are. Lots of law of attraction, prosperity gospel talk, MLMs use faith manipulation, business coaches tell people that the universe will reward them if they plunk down lots of cash. They will also tell people to take out lines of credit or sell stuff. If they don't, they must not be committed. Again, we see this all the time. Go into debt for your coaching. You will get the return on investment. You just have to believe in yourself, and the only way to be successful is if you just keep investing. The exploitation MLMs, of course, are that. Business coaching, when done unethically, is also exploitative. Basically, some, if not all in my opinion, of the most successful coaches got where they are by hiring cheap labor and, of course, also extracting thousands of dollars from vulnerable people who also wanted to be successful, who in turn learn outdated, useless tactics and do a lot of motivational speak in the form of yelling and extract money from other vulnerable people and so on. While I was in, I wanted to believe. I also had questions, but I didn't have words for them. But also having questions meant I had a mindset issue. This is an important point too. So if you've ever worked with a coach, they will essentially use toxic positivity and convince you that any negative thoughts you have about your success or your business or your ability to get clients is something that you need to work through, and it's not really acceptable. We cannot have negative thoughts around here, okay? I also grew up believing that I could do, be, have anything I wanted. The universe had my back. I thought coaching was what I was meant to be doing. To have that reflected back to me by other coaches meant so much after spending years in corporate and being constantly criticized for ridiculous stuff with the side of workplace bullying. I didn't leave corporate for coaching. I left corporate because of burnout, and coaching came sometime later. Again, common story we see similar to my own. I felt really unfulfilled in corporate, and rather than look for another corporate job, I thought the only solution was to, leave my job and start a business. Coaching was an answer to making money in a world that wasn't supportive. I feel for some MLMers because it's the same for them too. They're looking for a solution that helps them with childcare and community and time freedom and hopefully financial freedom in a time of rising costs and stagnant wages. And while their tactics bug me, I also get where they're coming from. Fortunately, MLM was not my answer. Right there with you. I'm spending a lot of time not only recovering from all of this, but also understanding the larger context of being in the US and all of its systematic issues and how it's created a situation that's ripe for this sort of thing. There are probably good coaches out there, and there's talk about doing things ethically and sustainably and whatnot, but I'm done with it all. I have no hope, not with late stage capitalism. And I feel very similarly. I will never return to coaching in any kind, but I did do an interview a few weeks ago with someone who still is actively in the coaching industry. And I think she really shed light on how to do coaching ethically, should people choose to pursue that as a path. But I think for me, the industry itself is just so corrupt and has way too many people with ill intentions that I would never want to be associated with that. Okay, there are so many comments on this thread. I will link it in the description if you want to go through and read it yourself, but I thought right now we could move on to some other content. So about a month or two ago, I did a live video, which I will link over here, that essentially discusses this pipeline that I've noticed of like fitness influencers who now consider themselves business coaches. And so for a little bit of context, I would consider myself like a little bit of a gym rat. I love going to the gym. I love working out. And back in like 2016, 2017, when like fitness YouTube was a really big thing, I followed a lot of these online fitness coaches on YouTube and on Instagram. And so then basically what I noticed was around 2018, a lot of them started to coach other fitness coaches on how to build their fitness coaching business, which then eventually just turned into becoming a business coach that coaches other coaches of any kind. And so anyways, I did a live video and I featured one of these coaches. You can go ahead and watch that video if you want to know who I'm talking about. But then I came across a feed on Reddit that was talking about her, multiple feeds on Reddit actually. And so I thought I would just pop them in this video because it's kind of like a Reddit Reacts video anyway. So basically this is a screenshot from this individual's Instagram story, and on top of the image, this is what she wrote. I am more than confident in my work, what I do, my ability to provide results, my experience, skills, expertise, number of clients I've worked with, my integrity, all of the things. This in total truth does not bother me at all. My prices are listed at the bottom of my applications and I don't hide them for any reason. I have things priced from $97, a small course, all the way up to $25,000, private coaching for the year. This is being used as a teaching moment. There are some people who do not live in this world, value what you sell, or understand how you could possibly charge for it. Charging for the depth of the work you do is a sacred relationship between you and your client. The right price will work for the exact right person, and no one who isn't the right person. Okay, so this really demonstrates the toxic narrative that many coaches are tricked into believing. So as we kind of already alluded to earlier in this video, and I've talked about in pretty much every video I've done, a lot of these coaches charge like absurd prices for the services that they provide. Private coaching for $4,000 for 3 sessions, a month-long mentorship program for $10,000, and so on and so on and so on. We've seen so many programs at so many different price points, but for the most part, a lot of it is like outrageously priced in my opinion. Now, what you're told in the coaching space, and again, I speak this from experience, is that you determine your worth, you set your prices, and if people say no and they tell you your prices are too high, you're talking to the wrong people, because the right clients would be willing to pay whatever your worth is, which again, I think is just not true and really just speaks to this idea essentially that you have to manipulate people into believing that you're worth that amount of money. And I brought this up in another video that I did recently, but it's this idea that once you're kind of in the coaching space long enough, you start to become like I don't know what the word is, your perception of what's expensive gets really skewed. And so my very first sales call that I ever got on was with a coach based in the US, and she wanted to charge me $6,000 US, which at the time the exchange rate would have made it like $8,000 Canadian. So I was like, oh my God, no, this is way too expensive. And then literally within that same month, I ended up hiring my first coach for $4,500 because in my head, I was like, this is like half price. I'm getting an amazing deal. And then even after that, the next year, I hired another coach who I would pay, it was either $200 or $300 US every month, which is still like for the amount of like calls and stuff we got, pretty absurd. And so I don't know, I just found it like kind of interesting how skewed your perspective gets when you're so like deep and heavy into this industry. And that's why you see these people charging like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in my opinion. So then again, we can just read through some of the comments. People are saying, what a narcissist to think she has the qualifications to charge someone $23,000 for coaching, plus her little MLM hunbots like M that she's encouraged below her. It's predatory, unethical, and disgusting. So the person that she's referring to was another like fitness influencer that now is a coach. Making it about your value is a huge MLM thing. They like to shame about priorities and whatnot to justify the monthly cost. Again, like I said earlier, lots of parallels between the two industries, but they in themselves are not the same. The price alone is one thing, but that price without credentials is even worse. Literally going to a licensed therapist is cheaper than this, and she doesn't want to hear it. She's making me angry. So yeah, I think an important thing to note about this particular individual is that she actually kind of moved away from business coaching and is now like a spiritual business coaching mentor. So definitely borderline therapy, and has no background in therapy whatsoever. I think she took like a spiritual psychology course one time, but like what even is that? This entire situation makes me angry. I hope the influencer coach world caves in on her and M because of this bullshit. Stay in your fitness lane and out of people's traumas. Literally, I see a therapist weekly. She's a resident, meaning she's still under supervision. Regardless, it's $60 a week. 60 times 4 is 240. 240 times 12 is 2,880. Granted, that's on the cheaper side, but still no more than $150 a session without insurance. This girl is charging so much for unqualified professional. And the comments really just continue being like, the concept of charging your worth is stupid, which I absolutely agree with. Okay. Again, I'm going to link all of these down below so you can take a look yourself, but let's move on. Tell me you're reading here without tell me you're reading here. The scam queen will go first. Hey blank, if you truly believe in your prices and what you offer, you wouldn't be on your stories constantly defending it. So again, it's the same coach from the last picture that I shared on Instagram defending why her prices are so high. When I raised my prices earlier this year, I found out how many different practical and energetic emotion and subconscious belief elements need to be lined up to create a sense of deep confidence in those rates. So basically, I'm assuming she raised her prices and then was like, oh my God, am I really worth that much money? Maybe it wasn't selling, who knows? She uses so many words to say so little. Her coach, and I've blacked out the name, is also a scammer. Funny how scam coach worlds collide. Again, I think it's just the industry, you know? I hire you as my mentor because I believe what you're selling, and then I convince my clients to believe in what I'm selling. It's not like a coincidence that these people all work together. It's literally just how the industry works. I genuinely think she does this to try and impress her fiance. I thought the same thing. $55,000 for a year's worth of coaching. Even my board certified therapist with 30 years of experience doesn't cost that. If I saw my personal trainer 7 days a week for a whole year, it'd still only be $18,000. This lady is delusional. Wait, what? I must be new here. How do people get duped into this? This is absurd. Again, I think it's a conditioning thing. The more and more you see it, the more and more it becomes normalized. So then someone else wrote, I feel there's a really good chance she doesn't actually make any money. And then someone replied, she doesn't. My one friend is a coach and offers the same BS. She has 0 clients and is always complaining to me that she has no money, can't afford to pay for this or that. Yet she's always manifesting a 5-digit income for a month or a 6-digit income for the year, blah, blah, blah. These people try so hard not to work. They're actually working harder to do nothing. I work in cybersecurity, probably do an average of 3 hours of real work a day. I make low 100K. Okay, and then the rest of the comments, again, it's lots of word salad. Does she really make that much money? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know either way. I'm not in her bank account. I just thought this was interesting. And again, I will link the thread down below if you want to look into it for yourself. Okay, friends, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope that you found this interesting. If you have scam stories or individuals you want me to react to, you can either put them in the comments or send me an email. My email is linked in the description below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I will see you in my next video. Take care, comb your hair. I'll leave you with this video right here next. Bye-bye.